This section right here, we're going to be talking about installing PHP and a little bit about what PHP is. You okay over there, Adam?
I'm doing so great.
What is PHP?
Okay, we'll start that out by turning it over to Logan. Logan, why don't you take a second and tell everybody what PHP is?
PHP is a server-side scripting language. What that means is, before you saw how you could set up Apache to respond to a web page request, so your browser told Apache that it wanted a page, Apache just found the page and gave it back to your browser. That was it. Now, if you have a PHP script, first you configure Apache, tell it what extension a PHP script will have. So then, when a browser requests a PHP script, Apache sends that script to the PHP parser, and the parser is what actually goes through the entire file, finding anything that's inside of PHP tags, and then running it. It's an interpreter. It can read any PHP code inside those tags, and it'll generate any output from those tags if there was going to be output, or just run what code. It doesn't necessarily have to generate output. But once it's done and finishes interpreting all the PHP, it has a straight HTML file that it sends back to Apache, and Apache sends that to your browser.
So
hold on.
Can you be my interpreter? Can you put that in critter terms?
I was gonna say, Adam, tell us what he just said.
Yeah, I just had to check out to make sure I wasn't bleeding out of the ears.
So it's
what I'm thinking, what he just said, is that
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah, I can understand the interpreting part, where it looks at it and anything that's in the code, it like cross-references it.
So it talks to the server.
Well, you can almost think of it. It's a PHP. First of all, is a server-side scripting language.
Right.
Okay. What does that mean? It means that as a developer developing a web page, you're going to write in PHP code or scripting code into your web page.
Right.
And you're going to use special PHP tags to designate that this section is PHP code. So far, so good. We'll get into the tags a little bit later on.
Oh, no, that
okay?
actually makes sense.
Then we're going to name our web page with a special sort of extension like PHP. Okay, so you could call it index.php if you wanted to. Now, as Logan just said a second ago, which, Logan, I thought your description was excellent.
It was a very good description.
I was right there with it, but the other two were dying. But what happens is, then when you request this file from your browser, with your browser from the server, the web server, or Apache in this case, sees that the file has a .php extension and says, whoa, we got to hand this off to the PHP engine, okay? Or the parser, as Logan was talking about a second ago. Then it hands it off to the PHP engine, which then begins to interpret what the code inside, in other words, the PHP code, what it's saying to do. Okay. Get the date, connect with the database, whatever.
Right.
But all of this is happening at the server. Okay. So here you are, you're sitting at home, and you just asked for a PHP page, and you're sitting there, and you're waiting. And on the other end, the web server saw there's PHP in it, or they had a PHP extension, handed it off to the PHP engine, and PHP engine's like, okay, we're going through, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this. Does everything that you tell it to inside the scripting code, and as Logan says, delivers a web page back. Okay. This is what gets sent back to the browser, so you see the results.
Oh.
So it's not something, PHP, a lot of people get this confused, a lot of people that are new to this. PHP is not something that's client-side. Anytime you hear somebody say something that's client-side, that means your side. In other words, when you're sitting there looking at a web page that has a button on it and you click that button and it does something, that is client-side unless it calls the web server again asking for something else. Then it becomes server-side. So in other words, all right, hang on, I don't want to get you confused here.
No, that's
But there are, like if you click a button and it makes a little dialog box pop up that says, hi Adam, how you doing? That's a client-side operation. The server didn't do anything to interact to make this script do that.
It's almost like, okay,
it's like some sort of JavaScript or something that you have as client-side. But there are a lot of things that you can do server-side. And later on in this CD, we're going to get into connecting with a database, and we're going to make requests through our HTML code, and we'll use PHP tags. We'll make requests that we connect to a particular database, we open up a particular table, and we grab some records out and return them back to us in some sort of a web page format. Okay. So PHP, in its simplest form, is just an interpreter that's sitting on the server that is handed code from the web browser, or excuse me, from the web server, and it does its little thing. It runs that code or executes it, interprets it line by line, and gives a result back so that it is then sent back to the browser. Is this?
Yes, that's it.
Well, that's easy to understand.
Does that make sense a little bit better?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You sure? Okay.
No, that makes perfect sense.
Okay, just making sure.
Wow.
So first of all, the installation, again, we're doing this on a Windows 2000 system. So how do we go about getting PHP files, and how do we go about setting it up so that they actually interact with Apache? In this section right here, we're going to look at the actual installation of PHP, and in the next section, we're going to take a look at how we configure Apache to work with PHP. So let's go ahead and come in here, and I'm going to open up a browser. And we'll just jump on over here to www.php.net. Okay, so here we are on php.net. Now, right now this page is cached on my local hard drive, so it popped up really fast. Tonight, their website's been running just a little bit slow. Okay, they've got a new release that was just recently put out just a couple days ago, PHP4.2.1, and there's probably about 10 million people currently trying to get it. So we're just going to say that's the reason why we are crawling. But when you come into the PHP page, okay, this is their homepage, you'll find a lot of really good information about PHP. I mean, there's documentation. They have contests on coding contests. I mean, there's just a lot of really good stuff. What is it? You know, just in case you're totally lost, you ended up here by accident, who knows? But a lot of really good stuff. To start out with, though, we need to actually get the file to do the installation. And you can just come over here and you'll find downloads. And you can click downloads. And if this doesn't click over real quick, I've already got a page up with the downloads section on it, which it looks like it's going to make us wait. So I'll just go ahead and stop it and minimize this browser. And let's pretend that we just got to the downloads page. So we're now at the downloads page. Latest version of PHP. Complete source code. Logan, tell us about this.
If you want to go in there and rewrite part of PHP yourself, you'll need the source code.
So it is open source, right?
Yes, PHP is completely open source.
Which is absolutely awesome, right?
Oh, yes.
I mean, that means you can go in there and add your own functionality if you need to.
So you can manipulate it any way you want to?
Yeah, internally.
You could go in there and rewrite PHP completely if you wanted to.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
So it's like they give you... Never mind, that's a bad example. I was going to give an example, but then everybody would have went, huh? And yeah,